Why true spirituality cannot be integrated. Modern society can integrate almost everything. Rebellion becomes branding. Criticism becomes management training. Even meditation now appears in corporate productivity programs. In a world that absorbs everything, one force still resists integration. True spirituality, not because it is rebellious, but because it operates on a level that systems cannot control. And that is exactly why it still matters. Modern systems can absorb almost anything. Modern society has developed a remarkable capacity. It can integrate almost every idea. Political criticism becomes policy language. Social movements become marketing campaigns. Even counterculture eventually turns into lifestyle. The system learns quickly. It absorbs what once challenged it, and then it continues. Today we see the same pattern in the spiritual sphere. Mindfulness appears in corporate training. Meditation is used to increase productivity. Spiritual language is integrated into leadership programs. On the surface, this looks like progress. And in some ways, it is. But something subtle is happening at the same time. Because what systems integrate is rarely spirituality itself. What they integrate is a functional version of it. A version that fits existing structures. A version that improves performance. A version that does not fundamentally question the system itself. Spirituality is not a tool. True spirituality was never designed to serve systems. It does not exist to increase efficiency. It does not exist to improve productivity. It does not exist to help institutions run more smoothly. Its function is far more radical. Spirituality shifts the inner reference point of the human being. It changes how people perceive themselves, how they respond to fear, how they relate to power, how they find success. And when perception changes, behavior changes. Not because someone forces it, but because the observer has changed. A technique can be repeated. Awareness cannot. A method can be standardized. Insight cannot. A technique can be measured. Transformation cannot. This is why spirituality cannot be fully integrated into systems. Because systems function through repetition. Spiritual insight happens through perception. The observer changes the system. Many people assume spirituality should change society directly. They expect spiritual movements to create political systems, social programs, or economic models. But historically, spirituality rarely works that way. It works indirectly. It changes the observer. And a changed observer moves differently inside the system. A person who no longer defines themselves through status behaves differently inside hierarchies. A person who no longer depends on belonging becomes harder to manipulate through ideology. A person who is internally grounded cannot easily be controlled through fear. No revolution is announced. No structure is attacked. But something essential changes. Because systems are always inhabited by human beings. And human beings act from their inner orientation. Why systems? Try to absorb spirituality. Every system seeks stability. Corporations seek efficiency. Governments seek order. Markets seek growth. Institutions seek continuity. From that perspective, spirituality introduces something difficult: autonomy. A person who becomes inwardly independent does not react automatically. They pause. They reflect. They question. Systems built on predictability struggle with that. So history often follows the same pattern. A spiritual insight emerges. It liberates individuals. It spreads influence. Eventually, it becomes institutionalized. The language remains. The rituals remain. But the radical freedom that once defined the experience becomes softer, more manageable, more compatible with the system. This process has happened many times, not because institutions are evil, but because systems instinctively protect their own stability. Historical echoes. This dynamic can be seen throughout history. Jesus did not design a political system. His message was something far more radical. The kingdom of God is within you. With this statement, authority moved from institutions to inner awareness. Buddha did not create a social structure. He pointed to the nature of suffering and the possibility of liberation through direct insight. That insight could not be delegated. It had to be experienced. The Christian mystic Meister Eckhart spoke about an inner ground of the soul, a place where awareness becomes direct and immediate. Such insight cannot be controlled by institutions. It belongs to the individual experience. In each case, the transformative force was not a new system. It was a new level of consciousness. Why spirituality often appears harmless today. In modern culture, spirituality often appears harmless. Meditation apps, mindfulness workshops, self-development seminars. These practices can certainly be helpful. They help people slow down. They reduce stress. They increase emotional awareness. But they rarely question the deeper assumptions of modern society. Instead, they often help people function better inside existing systems. That is not necessarily wrong, but it is incomplete. Because the deeper potential of spirituality is not adaptation. It is perception. And perception can become uncomfortable. It can question identities built on status and success. It can weaken psychological mechanisms that systems sometimes depend on. Fear, belonging, competition, moral superiority. When these mechanisms weaken, manipulation becomes harder, not through rebellion, through clarity. Consciousness changes use, not structure. One of the most important insights about spirituality is this: spirituality rarely changes systems directly. It changes how systems are used. The same political structure inhabited by fearful people produces conflict. The same structure inhabited by self-aware individuals produces dialogue. The same economic system driven by insecurity produces exploitation. The same economy guided by ethical awareness produces restraint. Structures remain, but the consciousness operating within them shifts. This shift is subtle. It does not generate headlines, but over time, it changes the trajectory of societies. The power of non-integration. When spirituality refuses to become a tool, it preserves its depth. It remains a place where people can observe themselves honestly, where fear becomes visible, where identity loosens, where responsibility becomes personal. This refusal is not rebellion, it is integrity. Because the moment spirituality becomes completely compatible with efficiency, growth, and optimization, it stops questioning those values. And when nothing questions the logic of a system, stagnation begins. Consciousness keeps systems human. It keeps them open. It prevents people from collapsing completely into roles and structures. Closing reflection. True spirituality cannot be integrated, not because it opposes society, but because it operates on a deeper level. It changes the human being who moves within systems. And when that human being changes, systems change as well. Quietly, gradually, but in ways no structure can fully control. True spirituality does not fight systems. It simply refuses to be reduced by them. If this perspective resonates with you, subscribe to Spirit Online. We explore spirituality beyond trends, with depth, clarity, and responsibility. See you in the next reflection. Spirit Online.